Hi beautiful people, thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Happy New Year. And to my old subscribers, welcome back. And to the people viewing me for the first time, um, thank you for checking my channel out, and I hope you guys decide to subscribe. So some of you guys may have noticed that the quality of the video is a lot better now, and that's because I got myself a camera for Christmas. And I had actually been filming with my Samsung S7 in my previous videos, but now I have a camera, so hopefully I'll be bringing out better quality videos and better quality content. So today I just wanted to talk to you guys about my labor and delivery. A lot of my friends after I gave birth to Mayenli, a lot of my friends were asking me about how it all went down, and I kind of gave the story here and there, but right now I feel more comfortable sharing with you guys my my labor and birth experience. I hope you guys like what you see, and you decide to subscribe if you haven't already. So my due date was actually March 3rd, 2016. So on March 2nd, 2016, I went to my regular doctor's appointment. My doctor gave me, she checked me out. She told me I was 2 centimeters dilated, and then she gave me a quick membrane sweep. And then she said, okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow for the birth of the baby. I'll be working at the hospital then. And I actually thought she was joking. So I just laughed it off and I went home. I didn't experience any discomfort or any cramps or anything like that the whole day. My contractions actually started at 11 p.m. on the 2nd. They were 20 minutes apart. I didn't know if they were actual contractions or what was actually going on, so I just tried to brush it off. They were 20 minutes apart. I decided that I would try and go to sleep and sleep it off, and so yeah, so that's what I tried to do. So I went to bed. I was sharing my room with my mom at that time. Um, my mom, because my mom and my future mother-in-law came to spend the came to assist me with the birth of Mayenli. So they were both in the house. Luis was sleeping in the living room, and I was sharing my room with our room with my mom, and Luis's mom was sleeping in Mayenli's room. So we so I tried to go and sleep it off, and my mom kept on, because I kept on moving on the bed every time I get a contraction. They weren't that painful, but every time I get a contraction I would just move on the bed, and my mom kept on asking me if I was okay and if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm doing great, I am fine. So it went on for like 2 or 3 hours. They were 20 minutes apart. Then at 2 a.m. my contractions started coming like every 5 minutes I started having contractions, so I couldn't stay in the bed anymore. So I just stood up and I started pacing in the living room, and Luis at the time, he was playing Destiny, and and my contractions kept on coming, and he was like, should we go to the hospital now? And I was like, no, I don't want to go to the hospital because I don't want to go and then them tell me that I'm not dilated enough, so they send me back. I don't want to go through all of that. And he was like, okay, let me just, I'm just gonna keep playing then. So I just kept pacing and pacing and pacing until around 3 a.m. my contractions started being every 2 minutes apart. At the time, I was like, okay, they're 2 minutes apart. They're extremely painful. I can barely stand. I think it's time to go to the hospital. So I went and I woke my mom up. I woke Luis's mom up, and we're like, okay, we're ready to go. And Luis was still playing Destiny, and he was like, okay, I just need to complete this mission before I go. And I was like, I can't hold on anymore. Let's go now. I want to go now. This is so painful. So we called an Uber and we went to the hospital. So it was a snowy day. It snowed on March 2nd, so the drive was extremely slow and long. If you guys live in Toronto, you know how extremely slow people drive when it snows. It was like a 15-minute drive. It felt like it took an hour for us to get to the hospital. We finally got to St. Joseph's Hospital. It was We got to St. Joseph's Hospital around 3 a.m. and as soon as we got to the hospital, we're like, where's the labor and delivery wing? And I think it's called the Our Lady of Mercy wing. So they took us to the labor and delivery wing. They tried to get me on a wheelchair, and I was like, I'm not sitting down. I just walked. It was like a 5 or 10 minute walk throughout the hospital to get to the labor and delivery wing. We finally got there, and then I had to give in my information and everything and go through the triage. So it was really interesting because I was actually the only person in the hospital that was having a natural, well, that was planning on having a natural birth. Everybody who was there was actually scheduled for a C-section, so I was the only one who wasn't. So I was there and I was dying and I was screaming, and then all the other pregnant ladies were just looking at me like, why are you doing this to yourself? Because they were all there in the triage ready to get into their rooms because they were having their scheduled C-sections and everything. So I went to the triage. The whole triage process took about 2 or 3 hours. I got to the hospital around 3:30 or almost 4. Then they first of all we had to give out information to get we had to give out my information. So if I had any insurance, I had to provide that information. Although you guys know with OHIP, the Ontario Health Card, you pretty much don't have to pay for anything at your hospital stay unless you want like a private room. So I had specifically gotten my insurance changed so that I would be able to get a private room so that my family could actually stay with me, and Luis could spend the night, because you can't spend the night in the semi-private or the shared wards. So we got, after I had provided my medical information, they took me to a room so that they could go and check me, and a nurse came in and they installed all this monitors to check the child's heartbeat, as well as my heartbeat, and then the speed of my contractions and everything. It took almost 2 hours for the actual doctor to come and check me to see if I was dilated enough to be admitted. So I had an intern. It was so funny because I had an intern stay with me, and I guess it was his first time in the maternity ward, or however they call it, and it was hilarious. I felt like I was in an episode of Grey's Anatomy, because there was a point where I needed to pee, and I needed to pee so badly. I was in pain and I needed to pee, and I was screaming and I was like, I need to pee, I need to pee. And the intern was like, he wasn't freaking out, but he was kind of freaking out. He was like, I don't know what to do. This is my first time in this situation. What do I do? He went and he asked the nurse, and he was like, what do I do? And the nurse was like, I guess you just have to let her go pee. And I was like, I don't feel like pushing. I just need to pee. I know you guys think that some people go to pee and then they just go and have the child in the bathroom, but this is not the situation. I just need to freaking pee. Let me out of all these monitors. And eventually a nurse came and she took all the monitors off and she let me pee. But it was hilarious because like the way the intern was acting, I couldn't stop. Like when I came back, although I still had the cramps, I couldn't stop laughing because I was just thinking about how like surreal the situation was. It just reminded me of an episode of Grey's Anatomy. Anyway, the doctor eventually came and he checked me out, and he told me that I was 3 centimeters dilated, but because of the frequency and I don't know if strength is the word, but the strength of my contractions, that they would officially admit me, and I would be having the baby on March 3rd, which was my estimated due date. And the doctor also told me that she would see me the next day, so I guess she was right. So I finally got put into my own room. It was really, really nice. I love St. Joseph's Hospital. No matter what anybody says, it was like the best, not the best experience, but it was a really good experience. So I finally got into my own room around 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m., and The doctors came. My doctor, who had been with me throughout the pregnancy, finally came in and she checked me. She also checked me, and she told me that I was dilating normally. They asked me if I wanted them to break my waters. At first I told them no. I told them I didn't want them to break my waters. And they asked me if I wanted an epidural at that time because I was dilated enough to get an epidural, and I told them no. I told them that I wanted to go into the maternity whirlpool, which was like the best experience ever. If you guys have the opportunity to get some type of like water assistance type of relief, definitely do that. I would definitely recommend that. And so I went into the waters, so I decided to do that. Now, one thing that I would do next time is that if they're insisting on having my waters broke, I would definitely have that before I go into the water. So I went into the waters for like 2 hours. By the time I came out of the waters, it was around 8 or 9. So they decided that they would then break my waters, which I don't think I'll ever let them break my waters again. I'll just let my waters break by themselves next time. So they broke my waters, and it was like all the contractions that I had had before was nothing. It was nothing in comparison to the contractions that I had immediately after after they broke my waters. Oh, I screamed as soon as they broke my waters, and I felt that first contraction. I screamed so hard. I think I might have gotten the timeline a bit wrong because it was because it was 10 months ago, because I do think that by the time I got out of the water it was around 10 or 11. So it was so painful. The first contractions were so painful, and I just turned and I looked at the nurse and I was like, I want the epidural now. Get it. I was in so much pain. I was screaming, and it was like it was crazy. I was like, I want that epidural now. And then they were like, well, when we asked you to get the epidural, the anesthesiologist was right there, but now he's gone to get an epidural, to give an epidural to someone else, so you'll have to wait. I waited an hour and a half, almost 2 hours for the freaking epidural. I had been in labor for almost 12 hours before I actually got the epidural, and I was dilated. I believe I was dilated 6 centimeters by the time that the doctor came and gave me the epidural. So they gave me the epidural, and then they noticed that my contractions were slowing down and I wasn't dilating anymore. So they gave me Pitocin. Guys, Pitocin is the freaking devil. So they gave me Pitocin, and I was able to sleep. They came and they started checking me every hour, and I was dilating like 1 centimeter every hour. So they were telling me that you're probably soon gonna go into labor. Now, because I was sleeping, my nurse decided to reduce the volume of the heart rate, the fetal heartbeat monitor. So they reduced it so low that I could barely hear it, but you could hear it. And I was so drugged up that I was not even paying attention to that until Luis came and he was like, hey, I can't hear the fetal heartbeat. And that was around 2:30, almost 3 o'clock. So he couldn't hear it, and I was like, maybe there's something wrong with the machine. You should go and get a nurse. He got a nurse, and the nurse couldn't hear it, and they couldn't find Mayenli's heartbeat. So at that point, my doctor and a bunch of other doctors rushed in, and they were like, we can't find the heartbeat. They were pretty calm about it when they said it, but they were like, okay, we can't find the heartbeat. And they came and they checked me, and they were like, oh, okay, you're actually 10 centimeters dilated, so you're going to be having the baby right now. And I wasn't panicking or anything. I I wasn't panicking or anything. So So my doctor came in and she told me that I needed to push. They put my legs up and everything, and because I had a epidural, I really could not feel anything below my waist. And I started pushing, and they kept on telling me that I needed to push harder, and I was giving my best, and I was feeling so weak. I don't know, I was feeling so weak, but I was pushing as hard as I could. So I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and he wasn't getting out. They were telling me that his head was, I don't know if his head was too big or what, but I was pushing and pushing and pushing, and he wasn't coming out. And so they then decided that they would give me an episiotomy, and an episiotomy is when they go in and they cut you a bit, because to make the space a bit bigger for the baby to be able to come out. And I pushed again after that, and they still couldn't find his heartbeat. And then they were like, okay, the baby's going into distress, we'll give you a last push, and we'll try and use I don't know if it was forceps or a vacuum to try and get him out. And they tried that after the last push, and they told me that they couldn't get him out, so they said that they would just go ahead and give me a C-section, an emergency C-section. So I was all fine with the emergency C-section until they actually handed in papers to Luis. So they gave Luis some like regular emergency papers in case anything happened to me during the C-section, so that they would know how to proceed. And at that point, I was perfectly fine until that point, and I just started crying. I was there and I just started crying, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. But it wasn't that funny at the moment, but yeah, I just started bawling. I was crying so hard, and they were telling me that it's okay, it's gonna be fine. You just need to relax a bit. We're just gonna get the baby out. There was a team of 12 doctors, 6 for me and 6 for Mayenli, in case anything happened to him. They took me to the operation room, and they had prepared another operation room just in case anything was wrong with him. So it was around 3:20, I guess. They took me to the room. They got Mayenli out. Mayenli was born on March 3rd at 3:27 p.m. He weighed 3.8 kilos and measured 53 centimeters. And yeah, so that's when they took him out. And the first thing they did, then I heard him cry. They checked him out, and they said that nothing was wrong with him. Because they had to give me an x-ray, they immediately moved him. I think they immediately moved him out, and they gave him to Luis. Luis went and showed him off to all the family that was there at the time. And once they finished the x-ray, they brought Mayenli back to me, and then they showed him to me. And yeah, it was a very, very beautiful moment. I'm not gonna lie, I was actually really sad that I wasn't able to have a natural birth, because that had been my plan throughout my pregnancy. I never intended on having a C-section, just by my own choice. But it was still a beautiful birth. I was very, because I also had the episiotomy, I was in so much pain with the C-section. But the episiotomy actually healed way before the C-section. I was in much more pain with the C-section, because I had to walk upstairs when I came home and things like that to go to my room. But yeah, so that was pretty much the labor and delivery. I'm gonna stick a couple of pictures of Mayenli at the end of the video if you guys want to see that. Thank you guys so much for listening to my birth story. It's very when I was pregnant, I would be on YouTube and I would be looking at everybody's birth story to just see how it was. And I thought that maybe someone might find this story interesting if they're currently experiencing pregnancy. Even if you're not pregnant, it's just a good thing to know other people's experiences. I hope you guys like this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.